The grand ballroom buzzed, a symphony of laughter, hushed conversations, and the delicate clink of crystal glasses. Waiters, like seasoned pros, navigated the throng of guests, their trays laden with drinks shimmering under the soft lights. Standing almost center stage, Michael surveyed the scene, his hands clasped behind his back, a thoughtful air about him. Around him a sea of faces, friends, family, colleagues, people who'd been part of his life's journey. Glasses were raised in his direction, silent cheers from across the room, and he returned each with a warm, grateful nod. Tonight was monumental. His eldest daughter's wedding, yes, but so much more. It was the culmination of everything he stood for: dedication, grit, years of relentless work. This was his legacy, etched in life, a testament to family, to his roles as father, husband, friend. Family, always, was paramount. His gaze drifted through the crowd, landing on Sarah, his wife of 31 years, moving towards him with grace. Her sapphire dress hugged her figure perfectly, her hair styled just the way he loved. His partner, his love, through thick and thin. Trailing behind her, their 5 kids, a boisterous, laughing wave of warmth. "Michael," she called, her smile lighting up her face as she reached him. His heart swelled with affection. "Sarah, you're stunning tonight," he murmured, taking her hand. "Everything feels almost perfect," she replied, her smile mirroring his. Yet he caught a flicker, something unsaid in her eyes, a fleeting shadow. Across the room, Michael spotted David, his best friend, surrounded by kids, captivated by his every word and gesture. David, practically family. He'd been there through every storm, even those agonizing years when he and Sarah struggled to conceive. A wave of warmth, of deep gratitude washed over Michael as he looked at David, his closest confidant since college. An unbreakable bond forged in years of shared history. But as he watched, a sudden, inexplicable unease prickled at him. Sarah approached David, and then, to Michael's shock, leaned in, pressing a brief, strangely intimate kiss on his lips. Michael's smile froze. Disbelief flooded him as he struggled to process what he'd just witnessed. It had to be a mistake, a trick of the light, anything but what it looked like. But then, she leaned in again, her voice sharp, laced with venom, carrying across the suddenly hushed space. "Can you believe he still thinks these kids are his?" Her words punched him in the gut. His mind reeled, desperately trying to make sense of the impossible. "We let him believe the fertility treatments worked," she continued, a bitter smirk twisting her lips. "They're yours, David, every single one of them. And now he's footing the bill for this ridiculous, over-the-top wedding." Her words crashed over him, overturning everything he knew, everything he believed. An icy weight settled in his chest, each heartbeat a heavy thud of betrayal. His vision blurred, breath catching in his throat as the truth, monstrous and undeniable, took hold. As if to twist the knife further, his youngest son sauntered over, a mocking sneer on his face. "We just played the perfect kids," he sneered derisively. "Uncle David is our real dad." Michael's hands began to tremble, his face draining of color as he stared at the family he'd poured his life into, barely grasping the enormity of their deception. Summoning every ounce of strength, he stepped forward, his voice shaking with a barely controlled fury. "This wedding," he declared, each word thick with pain, "is over." The music screeched to a halt. Silence descended, heavy and absolute, heads turned, whispers dying on lips, replaced by stunned silence. His daughter, the bride, stared at him, eyes wide, a mix of confusion and dawning horror. "Michael," Sarah began, panic flickering in her eyes, but he cut her off with a raised hand. "No," he stated, his voice cold, final. "I've heard enough lies." David stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. "Michael, please, let's talk about this privately," he murmured, his voice strained. Michael's smile vanished, replaced by a mask of cold fury. "Don't call me Michael." His voice cut through the air like shattered glass. "You lost the right to speak to me as a friend." His gaze, sharp as shards of ice, locked onto Sarah, whose composure visibly crumbled, her face paling. Sarah's cheeks flushed crimson, and she stumbled back, while the children instinctively moved closer to her, their faces a mixture of shame and awkward defiance. "How long?" Michael asked, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. Sarah opened her mouth, but he repeated, louder, "How long?" His voice echoed in the sudden, suffocating silence, the guests around them frozen, pretending not to listen, yet unable to ignore the unfolding catastrophe. Sarah's eyes dropped, her voice a faint whisper. "Since the beginning," she finally confessed. A hollow ache spread through Michael's chest as the full weight of the truth slammed into him. 31 years, not a single day of honesty. Memories flashed, their shared pain, endless doctor visits, the fragile hope he'd clung to, each time she'd reassured him, each time he'd blindly believed her, trusted the specialists she'd claimed were helping. When David started to speak, Michael silenced him with a look that could shatter stone. "You let me believe I was their father," he exhaled, each word laced with venomous bitterness. David lowered his gaze, guilt a heavy weight silencing him. Michael turned to the children, who huddled closer together, as if only now comprehending the magnitude of their deception. Almost in a whisper, he said, "I gave you everything." He took a shuddering breath, fighting to contain the volcanic fury erupting inside him. "I sacrificed everything. For this family? For a lie." His eldest daughter, still in her pristine wedding dress, took a tentative step towards him, her face ashen. "Dad, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped Michael. "So, you didn't want me to know? You all knew, didn't you?" He looked at each of them, his voice cracking under the crushing weight of realization. "Each of you knew, and still let me believe." The silence that descended was suffocating, unbearable. The bride's face crumpled, tears welling in her eyes. Sarah stepped closer, desperation etched on her face. "Michael, please," she whispered, reaching for his hand. "We can fix this. I made a mistake, but I love you." He recoiled from her touch as if burned, her hand like poison. "Love?" His voice, soft but sharp as a razor. "You don't even understand what that word means, Sarah. None of you do." The children exchanged worried glances, finally grasping the depth of the wound their elaborate deception had inflicted. Michael's voice turned glacial. "I want all of you out of my life. You're stripped of everything. No inheritance, none of what I sacrificed for you." Sarah's face contorted in disbelief. "Michael, you can't be serious," she stammered, her voice shaking. But he took another step back, the finality of his decision a crushing weight. Forgiveness was impossible, not for this ultimate betrayal. He looked at their faces one last time. Sarah, David, the children he'd once called his own, then turned and walked away. leaving them in the stunned silence of the ballroom. Each step felt lighter, shedding the weight of their deceit with every stride, walking away from everything he had built for them. Returning to his penthouse overlooking Central Park, a strange calm settled over him, a quiet refuge after the storm of revelation. But though he had severed ties, they weren't ready to let go. The calls started days later, first from Sarah, then each of the children, even David. Then, one evening, returning from work, he found her at his doorstep, a ghost in the dim light. Shoulders slumped, face pale, as if fading away. The bright, confident smile, gone, replaced by an expression of raw sorrow. Her eyes were red-rimmed, holding back tears. As she saw him, her voice, barely above a whisper, trembled with raw emotion. "Michael," she uttered his name. She stepped closer, hands shaking. "Please, we need to talk." He smirked, bitterness lacing his voice. "A mistake? You call this a mistake?" She flinched, lips trembling as she reached for him, her fingers brushing his sleeve. "Michael, please, it was just a moment of weakness." His voice dropped, tense with anger, barely contained. "A moment of weakness? 31 years, Sarah. This wasn't a simple mistake. You built an entire life on deceit." She collapsed, burying her face in her hands, sobbing. "I'm so sorry, Michael. I thought you'd never find out. I believed I was protecting us, protecting the children." He raised a hand, cutting her off. "Protecting them? Teaching them to lie to me? Making me live in shadows? Don't you see? You've poisoned everything good in my life." She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, I'll do anything. Don't let this be the end of us. For the children." He replied with cold sarcasm. "You mean David's children? You destroyed any trust we had. There's nothing left." As she opened her mouth to plead again, he turned, walked inside, and slammed the door, silencing her desperate cries. Even through the thick door, he could hear her muffled sobs, her cries of his name. He paused for a moment, a flicker of pity, but pushed it down. He wouldn't yield, not this time. The next day, his eldest son, Grayson, showed up. Tall, lean, shifting from foot to foot, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his face drawn and tired. "Dad," he began, his voice trembling. "Can we talk?" Michael folded his arms, his gaze cold, unforgiving. "Talk about what, Grayson? You had years to talk to me." Grayson's eyes dropped, avoiding his father's stare. I didn't know, Dad. I swear, I thought you already knew." Michael laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You thought I knew? And you just played along, pretending everything was fine?" Grayson raised his eyes, regret flickering in them. "I was a kid, Dad. I didn't understand. And later, I thought it was better to keep pretending. I didn't want to hurt you." Rage surged within Michael. "Hurt me? You all already did that, Grayson. Every one of you. Don't tell me it was out of love. You kept this lie alive because it was easier than facing the truth." Grayson sighed heavily, reaching out a hand. "Please, Dad, don't turn away from us. I still care about you." Michael stepped back, shaking his head. "Caring is empty when it's built on lies. I can't trust any of you." One by one they came. Luke, his second son, claimed he'd only followed his mother's instructions, not understanding the consequences. His daughters, Hannah and Riley, wept, begging for forgiveness, swearing they never meant to hurt him, Samuel, the youngest, looked at him with sad, innocent eyes, insisting he was too young to understand what was happening. Michael narrowed his eyes, repeating coldly, "Too young to understand? You weren't too young to mock me," he retorted sharply, "or to take part in the deceit." Samuel's face darkened, mumbling, "I thought it was just a game, Dad. I didn't know enough." Michael snapped, his patience gone. "You're old enough to know right from wrong, all of you." But Samuel persisted, his voice trembling with desperation. "Please, Dad, don't push us away. We still need you." Michael's gaze hardened. "Need me?" He looked at them, his eyes a blend of anger and hurt. "You laugh at me behind my back. You call me a fool. You don't need me. You need what I can give you." Samuel's face flushed with shame, his fists clenching. "It wasn't like that," he murmured. Michael's voice cut through the silence. "Then tell me what it was, Samuel, because apparently I missed the truth." But Samuel had no answer, mumbling indistinct words. Michael felt bitterness swell inside him, his shoulders slumping under the weight of disappointment. Without another word, he turned away, leaving Samuel standing silently on the porch. Every encounter with his family only deepened his resentment. Then, one evening, seeing David in his yard was the final straw. Pulling into his garage, Michael saw David leaning against his car, hands in his coat pockets, face serious, tense. Michael stepped out, his expression glacial. "You have the nerve to come here?" David straightened, clearing his throat. "Michael, I know you're furious, but hear me out." Michael scoffed, locking the car, heading for the penthouse. "Furious doesn't even cover it." "Please," David insisted, trailing him. "I was wrong. I should have told you the truth. I thought I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" Michael turned, his gaze unwavering. "You were protecting yourself. Watching me look like a fool was probably entertaining for you." David flinched, lowering his head. "It wasn't like that, all right? I was scared. I didn't want to lose our friendship." "It ended the moment you crossed the line with my wife," Michael replied coldly, disdain dripping from his voice. Tension tightened David's jaw. "Michael, we've been through so much together. Isn't there any way... Can you forgive me?" "Forgive you?" Michael's anger reignited. "You destroyed everything. My family, my trust, my pride. You think forgiveness comes that easily?" David's voice broke. "I made a terrible mistake. If I could fix it, I would." Michael sighed heavily, shaking his head slowly. "Some things can't be fixed, David. The path is closed." David reached out, placing a hand briefly on Michael's shoulder. "Michael, please," he murmured. But Michael recoiled, his face hardening as he shook off David's hand. Don't ever touch me again." A shadow of defeat crossed David's face. He nodded slightly, shoulders slumping. I never wanted it to end this way." But Michael's voice was icy. "Intentions don't erase what you did. Now you'll have to live with it." Turning, Michael went inside, slamming the door behind him. He paused, leaning against it, a wave of anger, betrayal, and disbelief washing over him, suffocating him. Later, alone in his study, Michael was engulfed by memories. For days, he'd tried to process the shock, to understand the betrayal that had shattered his once stable world. But he was done contemplating. It was time to act. Since that night, a thought had been forming. a plan beyond mere revenge, precise, meticulously crafted. Over the next days, Michael assembled a team, starting with a private investigator known for unearthing buried secrets. They sifted through David's financial records, business dealings. Michael had always known David was ambitious, sometimes recklessly so. Now, those risks would be his undoing. One afternoon, the investigator laid a thick dossier on Michael's desk. "You were right," he said. "David's entire operation hinges on tax evasion and connections with questionable people." Michael leafed through the file, each incriminating detail filling him with dark satisfaction. "Excellent. Send this to the authorities and keep a close watch on his accounts. I want updates as soon as they begin freezing his assets." The investigator nodded, and Michael allowed himself a rare, triumphant smile. The wheels were in motion. Days later, Michael got the call. "Sir, you'll be interested to know David's accounts are flagged for investigation. Authorities have uncovered numerous suspicious transfers." "Perfect," Michael replied, satisfaction ringing in his voice. "And make sure part of this documentation reaches the press. Let's see how David handles public scrutiny." As the news broke, the consequences were swift. Investors pulled out, clients terminated contracts, David's business spiraling downwards. Michael watched as David struggled to salvage his reputation, enduring grueling interviews, desperate attempts to repair his image, only worsening his plight. Meanwhile, Sarah faced the fallout of her choices. Without Michael's financial support, her luxurious life imploded. Michael ensured she had no access to his assets. She was forced to confront reality without him. She left their opulent penthouse, selling jewelry, designer clothes to afford a modest apartment in Queens. One evening, she appeared at his door, desperation etched on her face. Hair disheveled, makeup barely concealing exhaustion, wearing a designer coat that now seemed out of place, a relic of a life she no longer owned. "Michael," she began quietly, her voice trembling. "Could we talk?" He looked at her, cold, unyielding. "We have nothing more to discuss, Sarah. You're living with the consequences of your actions." Her voice broke to a whisper. "I didn't understand. I thought I could control everything. I thought somehow we'd be okay. Sarah, this life you built, it's all based on lies. And now you want me to pretend I don't see it?" Michael's voice was glacial, shattering the silence. "It's too late for that now." Sarah's face crumpled, tears welling. She tried to hold herself together, shoulders trembling. "I know I made mistakes, Michael," she managed, her voice broken. "I thought I could hold it all together, protect everyone. But now, I've lost everything. You, the kids, none of it ever truly belonged to me." Michael's jaw clenched, disgust flickering across his face. "Not truly?" he replied sharply. "You stole this from me, Sarah, and you knew exactly what you were doing." Her hands trembled, wiping away tears. "Is there any hope that you might one day forgive me?" she whispered. He looked at her, a ghost of their past flashing briefly in his gaze before vanishing. "No, Sarah," he replied quietly. "There's no forgiveness here." Days later, it was David trying to fix things. Voicemails piled up, each more desperate, begging Michael to meet. When Michael finally answered, David's voice was tight, desperate. "Michael, please," he pleaded. "I just need a chance to talk." Michael listened, a bitter satisfaction rising as David's voice shook. "I'm at rock bottom, Michael. Everything I worked for is falling apart. You've won, I get it. but this is too much." Michael's voice was sharp, unwavering. "You don't get to decide what's too much, David. Not after everything you've done." David's tone grew panicked. "I made mistakes, Michael. I understand that. But we've been friends for years. We were friends because I trusted you." Michael interrupted. "For years you looked me in the eye and lied. There's no friendship anymore, only consequences." David took a deep breath, his voice breaking. I understand. I just hoped we could talk, find a way to make things right." "The only thing I need to make right is my own life," Michael replied coldly. "And there's no place for you in it." He ended the call, feeling finality. David had made his choices, and now he'd face them. In the following months, Michael found a new rhythm, distancing himself from the lies, betrayals, reconnecting with old friends, rebuilding ties faded over time. He met Aurora, a woman he'd known before Sarah. Aurora's warmth, kindness drew him in, making him feel seen, understood. They met for coffee, laughed, shared memories. Something deeper began to stir, a glimpse of hope. Aurora tilted her head, smiling gently. "It's nice to see you like this, Michael. Truly happy." He nodded, feeling a lightness he hadn't felt in years. "I almost forgot what it felt like. For a while, I thought this part of me was gone forever." She placed her hand on his. "You're still here, Michael. You've been through so much, but you're still standing." As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Aurora's quiet presence, a balm soothing his wounds. She never pushed him to talk about the past, simply stayed by his side as he rediscovered himself. Gradually, Michael opened up, sharing his pain. She listened, compassionate, without judgment. One evening, strolling under city lights, Michael stopped, turned to her. "Aurora, I don't know where this will lead, but I haven't felt like this in years." She squeezed his hand, her smile comforting. "I feel the same, Michael," she replied softly. "Let's take it one day at a time." Warmth filled Michael, a genuine smile, rare in recent years. He saw a future, free from the shadows of his past. But as he found clarity, David and Sarah's lives crumbled. Without Michael's help, Sarah struggled, debts overwhelming her. David's business collapsed, his reputation ruined. He lived in a cramped apartment, taking any work to survive. Sarah drastically cut expenses, her past luxuries distant memories. Michael felt no joy in their downfall, but a quiet sense of justice. They'd taken so much: his trust, peace, years of his life. Now they faced consequences. Building a new life with Aurora, a heavy weight lifted, soul-scarred but seeing clearly what mattered. Fulfillment in being valued for who he was, not what he provided. The painful chapter closed. He wouldn't look back. One afternoon, paperwork at his desk, a hesitant knock. He froze, knowing who it was. Deep breath, he opened the door. Sarah stood there, exhausted, disheveled, elegance gone, unkempt hair, expensive clothes hanging loosely, a reminder of a lost life. Behind her, David, shoulders slumped, face lined with weariness, despair. The confident man Michael knew, gone. "Michael," Sarah's voice trembled. "We need to talk." Silence. He stepped aside, letting them in, closing the door. Silence, heavy with unspoken emotion. Sarah broke it, voice barely a whisper. "We have no choice," she muttered, looking down, twisting her hands, voice strained, hopeless. "We've lost everything. The penthouse, cars, accounts, empty. The business. She glanced at David, gaze fixed on the floor. It's all over, Michael said calmly. Your business, your home, your life, destroyed. So why are you here? To tell me about it. Sarah's lips trembled, stepping closer. Michael, I know what I did to you. I made unforgivable mistakes. I thought I could have it all without seeing the harm I was causing. You thought you could lie, deceive, and come out unscathed, Michael replied, voice quiet but firm. You built your life on lies, hoping no reckoning. Now your illusion shattered. You want my sympathy? David, silent until now, looked up, eyes red, pleading. Michael, we know we let you down, betrayed you. The guilt, it doesn't leave us. Isn't that enough? Haven't we paid in full? Michael laughed, bitter, shaking his head. You think this is revenge? This is justice. I raised children. Both of you knew weren't mine. You used me. Now nowhere else to turn. You come to me, hoping I'll pull you from the ruins of your decisions. Sarah stifled a sob, covering her mouth, instinctively reaching for him. Michael stepped back, refusal unmistakable. Michael, please, she whispered, voice trembling. I've lost everything that ever mattered. They needed a glimmer of hope, solid ground. Michael raised an eyebrow, tone detached, sharp. Help, he repeated, looking coldly at David. How many times did you mock me behind my back, building all this? Ever think of helping me while taking everything I created? David lowered his gaze, voice trembling. I was wrong, Michael. I thought nothing could threaten me. But you showed me how empty my world was. Michael shook his head, voice quiet. You brought this on yourselves, he said, looking away, almost poetic. Don't you think? After years of taking from me, you come now with nothing left to lose. Sarah stepped forward, voice hesitant. Michael, I know I don't deserve this, but can you forgive me? Could we start over? Michael laughed softly, bitterly, turning to face her. Start over? You made your choice, Sarah. As for forgiveness... He paused, letting the weight of his words linger. I don't owe you that. Sarah's face contorted with pain, covering her face with tear-soaked hands. David shifted, shoulders heavy with regret. Michael took a slow, deep breath. Sarah, I devoted years to building a life with you, trusted you, only to be cast aside like something useless, just a convenient fool to clean up after you. And now you just ask for forgiveness? Sarah lowered her hands, face full of sorrow. Michael, we have nowhere else to go. I thought if we had enough. Michael cut her off, voice calm, firm. You chose him, Sarah. Now you have what you wanted. A life with him, not me. So go on, find your path. Weight of his words, Sarah slowly nodded, took David's hand, headed for the door. Hand on the doorknob, she paused, looked back, voice soft, regretful. Michael, she said, tone sincere, bitter. Once, I really did love you. Michael met her gaze, expression resolute. No, you loved what I could give you, the life I built, but you never loved me. Sarah's shoulders sagged, unable to deny the truth, opened the door, left with David. Door closed, silence filled the room, but different. Calm silence, free from betrayal's bitterness. Michael sat at his desk, surveying his home, finally truly his again, cleansed of deceit. Days following, he looked forward, newfound optimism. past burden lifted, true freedom. One morning, gentle sunlight through bedroom window, stretched, warmth he hadn't felt in years. Turned, Aurora beside him, serene in sleep. Peace she brought. Opening his heart hadn't been easy, but Aurora patient, giving time, space. Their relationship grown slowly, quiet understanding. Aurora knew his story, every painful part, yet never rushed him. Quiet patience, deeper healing than grand gestures. Aurora stirred, eyes opening. A simple, unspoken moment he understood, found peace. She looked at him, gaze tender, calm, soft smile. "Good morning," she whispered. "Good morning," he replied, tucking hair behind her ear, her hand finding his, quiet closeness. "Ready for today?" Aurora asked. Michael nodded. Plans to visit Joseph, old friend, hadn't spoken to in years. Friendship faded during Sarah. More than reunion, step back to life left behind, people who mattered before everything changed. Morning began with breakfast, glances, laughter. Stepping outside, Aurora took his hand. Walking bustling streets, Michael pried having her by his side, feeling unexpected again. Familiar places, stirring memories, time clouded by doubt, mistrust. Memories distant, fragments of a life no longer lived. Reaching Joseph's house, anxiety. Hadn't spoken to Joseph since Sarah, unsure how it'd go. Joseph greeted warmly, embraced, invited them in. Easy conversation, laughter, stories filling years apart. Aurora sensed friends needing time alone, excused herself. Once gone, Joseph looked at Michael, understanding smile. "She's been good for you, hasn't she?" Michael smiled gratefully. "She's more than I ever thought I'd have again. After everything, didn't think I'd let anyone close again." Joseph shook his head, sadness crossing his face. "You deserve this, Michael. What happened with Sarah? Unforgivable." Joseph's words hung, thoughtful silence. Michael spoke, voice quiet, reflective. "It's been a hard road, Joseph. Harder than I can explain. Times I believed I'd never trust again. But Aurora, she never demanded anything. Just stayed by my side, listened, gave me space to heal." Joseph nodded, understanding. "Amazing what the right person can do." Charles felt words resonate. "She taught me past doesn't hold me back. Still so much in life if I have courage to step forward." Conversation continued. Younger years' memories. Light fading. Michael gratitude for new start. Way back, Aurora found his hand. "Did you enjoy seeing him?" she asked, smiling softly. "Yes," he replied. "Forgot what it's like with old friend, without hiding anything." She squeezed his hand reassuringly. "You've come a long way, Michael. See it in how you carry yourself, no longer bound by the past." He looked at her, touched. "It's because of you, Aurora. You've given me hope, reason to move forward." Comfortable silence on the ride back. Arriving home, Aurora playful glint. "So what's next for a man who's found himself again?" she teased. Michael laughed, new excitement rising. "I think it's time to start something new. I want to travel, see the world. So much I missed, consumed by the past." Aurora's eyes lit up, excited smile. Then let's do it. Let's plan an adventure, somewhere far from here. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the Force be with you.